Hello and welcome to the Exponential Edge podcast with your host, Yaroslav. I'm excited to have you join me on this journey exploring the forefront of technological advancements and innovation that will shape our future. As a sophomore at Acton Boxer Regional High School and the CEO of SecArmor, a cybersecurity startup, I have always been fascinated by the transformative power of technology. In this podcast, we will dive deep into 5 key areas that are poised for exponential growth in the next decade. We'll be exploring the realms of cybersecurity, generative AI, sustainability and climate tech, biotech and human longevity, as well as the reshoring of manufacturing. These topics hold immense potential to revolutionize our world and redefine the way we live, work, and interact. Each episode will feature insightful conversations with experts, thought leaders, and visionaries who are at the forefront of these fields. In just 30 minutes, our goal is to provide you with 5 signature nuggets of wisdom from our guests. These key takeaways will empower you with knowledge and help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving technological landscape. Without further ado, let's introduce our guest for this week. Hello everyone, our guest today is Yaroslav Azhnyuk, co-founder of Petcube and Spend with Ukraine. Hi Yaroslav.
Hey Arya, how's it going?
It's going really good. How about you?
All good. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. So first, I just wanted to ask, could you briefly go over your career so far, your motivations?
Yeah, I'm an engineer and a sort of computer science engineer, born and raised in Kyiv, Ukraine. Built a bunch of companies so far. One of them is probably most known. It's called Petcube. We make home cameras and software for pet parents. It's sort of the company that pioneered this space, and we're leading it. Sold about 1 million devices to mostly American pet parents, but around the world as well. And I spent about 6 years living in Silicon Valley before returning back to my hometown of Kyiv, where I am now. Among other things, founded a few other companies. One of them is Ozero Design, doing sort of full stack design agency services in the cloud, as we call it. Another is a Fuel Finance. It's a software as a service sort of financial department. So these 2 companies are also sort of found in Ukraine, catering to the American market. So most of the employees are Ukrainians, and most of the clients are from the US. I also co-founded a couple of NGOs back in the day when I was a student. There was this NGO called Internet Initiatives. It was like 2008 or something. And the mission was to sort of spread the awareness of the sort of modern day technologies. And that was back when Web 2.0 was actually a word and a buzzword, which is probably forgotten now. And people were not really familiar with the internet and what you can do, and so on, like self-publishing, stuff like that. And recently, about a year ago, my friend and business partner, Andre, and I have co-founded an organization called Spend with Ukraine. And it was sort of a reaction to the Russian invasion of Ukraine on February 24th of 2022. And that's an organization that allows you to browse a catalog of outstanding Ukrainian-made products that are available globally, and support them by buying, be it like a rug for your home, or a fancy electronic device, or an electric bike, or an app, or a design agency that you can hire. So that's sort of stuff that I've been involved with, and lately, probably for the last year, I've been also involved with a number of what we call the Miltech initiatives, so companies that are making products for the front lines to help Ukraine defend its independence. So stuff like drones and radio electronic systems and so on. So I've been helping a bunch of companies in this space, and that has been sort of an area of focus for me lately.
That's great. And I checked out the Spend with Ukraine website, and it's actually crazy how many options there are I saw so many categories. There's even like streetwear. I don't know if the streetwear trends are different in Ukraine, but there's just a lot of options. Even the gadgets part, stuff with biotech as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's like every megapolis in the world is somewhat similar and then somewhat different. So you always get sort of the inspiration from your roots and from your identity and who you are and who your parents were and so on.
Hmm.
But then, we watch the same sort of YouTube shows and then
Yeah.
Netflix shows and listen to the same music. So there's sort
Hmm.
of this global village. But I mean, yeah, lots of fashion brands and many of sort of American pop stars are wearing those. All the sort of, I don't want to interpret or mismention any big name, but real big names like the A list of the American pop scene
Yeah.
is wearing Ukrainian brands.
Hmm. Yep. So that's amazing, obviously. And as a pet lover myself, I have my one of my dogs here, Lizzie.
Yeah. What's his name?
Lizzie. It's a girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Nice.
she's
I see
too
her
happy
ears.
to be in here. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, could you share how your innovative products at Petcube change the lives of pets and their owners?
Yeah, totally. I mean, when we started the company in 2012, actual home cameras like security cameras were still a new thing, and a company called Dropcam was just being founded, which later was sold to Google. Um, mm, and what my partner and co-founder Alex discovered is that he really wanted to watch his dog when he was at work and leaving his dog home alone.
Hmm.
So he made this camera that had a laser pointer attached to it that you can control remotely. So that was a big success, and we had a Kickstarter campaign and all of that. And that developed into a line of products which we offer currently, which is like just a regular camera with a number of pet-friendly features, such as pet recognition and good mounting options, and then vet consultations and sort of pet insurance and stuff like that. And then there are sort of more advanced cameras, one that can throw treats to your dog or cat, and another that allows you to sort of move a laser pointer around the room and play with your pet. And what we're hearing from our customers is that this just helps them to stay in touch with their pets. And a funny fact is that during COVID, we thought that our business is going to be in big trouble because obviously people stopped going to the offices. So
Yeah.
are they gonna buy our products or keep using them? But what we discovered is that actually our usage even grew because people got so close to their pets that just like with their kids, they wanted to make sure their pet is okay. So even when they would leave home just to buy groceries, they would actually call their pets on Petcube and like talk to them and watch them. And an average pet parent makes like 11 calls per week
Wow.
to their pets, and spends about like 50 minutes per week watching and like talking and interacting with our pet. And that's actually more time than an average person spends talking to their parents, which is sort of bizarre, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how close we are to our pets,
Hmm.
and that's how important they are for our lives. So yeah, I mean, we have so many happy customers, and it's really feels good to make something that so many people use and love, and just makes change in their lives.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so you started Petcube and put it through the Y Combinator incubator back in 2016. So first off, before I ask my question on the list, could you just give a 30-second introduction for our younger audience to what Y Combinator actually is?
Yeah, Y Combinator, or YC for short, is the world's number one business accelerator, which means basically like it's not even a school, but sort of a fertile environment for young founders and companies where you apply. It's really hard to get to. It's like 1 out of 60 or something. I heard it's like the Harvard of accelerations.
Hmm.
But if you get there, and like people who apply there are usually graduates of the top universities. So,
Yeah.
but if you get there, you basically get a community of like-minded founders, and you get really high-profile mentors, people who've sold their companies for billions of dollars and who've seen hundreds or thousands of other startups and who have really good experience to advise you on your journey. I mean, it's YC is way beyond all the other similar institutions. I think the cumulative worth of all the companies which graduated Y Combinator was north of $300 billion the last time I checked. So it's
Hmm.
like companies like Airbnb and Stripe and
Yeah. Yep.
other sort of household names. So it's I mean, we had a great time there.
Hmm. So, could you just walk us through your experience with Y Combinator, how it helped your entrepreneurial like passions and ventures going forward, and how you got Petcube into it in the start?
Yeah. So, I mean, the interesting thing about YC is that companies of all sort of maturity stages can get there. Can get there. So, from like one founder and an idea, and maybe like a month worth of work on that idea, to companies that have like 50 employees and millions of dollars in revenue and so on. And We were a pretty mature company when we got into YC. We were like 30 people, probably like $2 million in revenue, something like that. So we had our first product,
Nice.
sales, and so
Hmm.
on. Um, Basically, the YC deal, well, back then, now it's slightly different, but they basically give you like something like $150,000 in investment, and they get like 7% of your company. Besides the money that they provide to you, they provide this environment and mentorship and sort of hand holding. And then the demo day, which is the culmination of a Y Combinator experience of the 3 months companies spend in Y Combinator. The demo day is the event where you pitch your company to the audience of investors. Um, Usually, companies that went through Y Combinator, they have much higher valuations on a demo day than an average company just raising their first funding from investors. And that was the case for us and for many of our friends. And yeah, I mean, it's been a blast.
Hmm. Yep. So, I wanted to turn to a little more serious topic now. Obviously, you're in Ukraine right now. It's a war zone, tough times. And you're in Kiev right now, which is one of the biggest crisis areas in the country. And could you describe how you're managing to continue your work in such an environment?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would certainly not call Kiev a big crisis area. It's definitely sort of an endangered area because the Russians are trying to strike the city with their rocket attacks. But the air defense is actually doing a pretty good job. So
Oh.
they're
Hmm.
hitting maybe like 90% of the targets. And uh, the most sort of the biggest crisis areas are definitely on the eastern and the southern fronts,
Okay.
and it's like a front that's
Hmm.
has maybe like uh, over 1,000 miles long line where the actual fighting is happening, and there are hundreds of thousands of both Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers or occupants who are basically occupying Ukrainian land and trying to strike further. I mean, look, when it all started, I mean, the sort of full scale invasion, as we call it, because the actual war started in 2014 with the Russian
Hmm.
occupation of Crimea and
Yeah.
some eastern regions. But the full blown invasion in February 24th, 2022, I was in Kiev. And before that, my family and I were actually sort of, and the companies were. I'm a founder, I have some influence in. We were preparing to the possibility of such attacks. So we all sort of had evacuation plans, business continuity plans, and so on. But it's really hard to prepare to a full-on invasion of your country by nuclear power like Russia. So obviously, I got woken up by the calls from my parents. My wife and I, we got woken up early. We live in the center of the city. We didn't hear the explosions back then, but we basically enabled our evacuation plan, and it didn't feel like, at least us, we didn't feel terrified. We felt like pretty, it was a feeling of resolve and sort of adrenaline rush. And it's sort of like those apocalypse movies that we've all seen from the Hollywood, where you have like an hour to pack your like family and your belongings and your loved ones in the car, and then just drive. And we had like a 17-hour nonstop drive, and like
Wow.
the all the like large roads were jammed, so roads leading from Kiev to the west. It was quite an experience, like an overnight thing and so on. But then, obviously, thanks to the Ukrainian armed forces, were able to fight back and like liberate some of the territories that Russian entered in the northern Ukraine and around Kiev, and then push back on the east. And the goal for us entrepreneurs was just to keep the businesses functioning, and that's what we've done. People were evacuated and like contingency plans in place. But as of like maybe a month or two after that invasion, it's pretty much has normalized. People
Okay.
are very adaptable species, and we
Mhm.
learn how to live under this pressure. So, for example, when our recording started, I got like a sound alarm on my phone, notifying me that it has been sort of the end of air alert mode. So whenever Russians launch planes capable of carrying missiles, or the missiles from other ships in the Black Sea or something like that, our armed forces detect that, and then the cities which are in danger get this air alarm, which you hear very clearly anywhere you are in the city, but it's also duplicated in the mobile apps that every Ukrainian has. So you're supposed to go into some safe place if you're, either in a bomb shelter, or many people just choose to stay sort of closer to the inside walls of their buildings when the air alarm is on. And that's pretty much the inconvenience that people experience living within the cities. And then sometimes, when a rocket hits the city, you would hear explosions. I'm just telling you that as a matter of fact. I know that sort of sounds scary, but yeah, people just got used to it. And obviously, lots of your attention and sort of thinking is around what's going on in the front. So people are spending a lot of time reading the news, and people are massively donating money, and many people went to serve the armed forces, which has grew from like 200,000 people to almost a million now. So it's always on the agenda. But I guess, I mean, as much as the war is horrible, it also brings up sort of some of the best qualities in people, and you see the dedication and hard work and the passion. And yeah, whenever someone has a birthday or any event, the only wish is to the victory.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's really, really admirable. Not just not just Ukraine's like persistence with the war, all the people's persistence with the war, and even you. Didn't you? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you move back to Ukraine a little before or when the war started?
I did move
And
before the war started, a couple years before, but it was basically driven by the feelings of patriotism, and
of course.
I love this land, and I want to sort of keep building from inside of here. So as much as I love the United States, and it has been a great place to be, and made many friends, and keep doing business with the U.S. It's my loyalty is with Ukraine for sure.
Mhm. Of course. Yeah. And I also wanted to ask, of course, it's a really stressful time, and it's really good that your company hasn't been affected that much because other
Yeah, I
companies,
mean,
other small
look,
businesses.
actually, the markets are all in the U.S.,
Mhm.
so the businesses have been just growing and doing pretty good. And actually, people who work in those businesses, Ukrainians, they have stable place of work. They can support their families. They have some security, and the money they're making, they're actually donating significant sums of money to the Ukrainian armed forces to support and like protect their motherland and the future
Mhm.
of their children.
It's
So
amazing.
this all is obviously very helpful to have businesses that can survive these environments.
Yeah, and I think it kind of embodies the entrepreneurial spirit as well because they have the passion, they have the necessity because Ukraine needs to fight this off, or else like there's no other option, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And right now there's the crisis going on as well, so they have a cause to fight for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Totally.
Right, and like you said, most of your user base is in America. But are there any adaptations to your business model that you had to change after the war started?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, just like looking at the wider geopolitical situation, something we've been watching very closely back from I think 2019, when there was a trade war between the United States and China, and there were tariffs to some of the products imported from China. We started looking because we have production, we have manufacturing in China as we do electronics. So we started looking at potential alternatives to manufacturing in China, and as the Russian invasion intensified, we also realized that this could influence the geopolitics and the risks become sort of higher. So we do have plans in place of what we're going to do if for some reason we can no longer manufacture in China. But I really hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, and that's a problem with the U.S. too, just the West in general because of China and the war. Obviously, the reshoring of manufacturing. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in general over the next decade, bringing
Yeah,
manufacturing back to these countries.
yeah, no, I think there's definitely sort of a wise balance to be maintained between, a total free market, which is super efficient, and certain sort of sovereignty, which grants you certain, doesn't make you that open defense wise to potential strikes. Like Europe was super dependent on the Russian gas and oil,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
it played a sort of bad joke with them.
Hmm.
So there is definitely a balance to be striking here. But look, I mean, yeah, for me, China seems to be a much more rational player than Russia. For if there's any comparison to be made, and I really hope that there will be sort of a diplomatic way to keep things civil between the U.S. and China and
Hmm.
Taiwan, obviously.
Yeah. So we did talk a lot about Petcube. So I wanted to turn the conversation to some of your other companies, your other ventures. So could you share your experience co-founding Fuel Finance and O Zero Design?
Yeah, totally. I think O Zero was first, and it was basically a group of super talented designers who were doing work for Petcube and working as a part of Petcube team, launching numerous products and website and the app and brand and so on. And it was like a team of six, I guess. And we just started getting requests from different friends and other entrepreneurs, like, "Wow, you should recommend us the agency who made your website or made your app or something like that." We're like, "It's not agency; it's actually our in-house team." And one of the founders, Andre Clan, he is a really badass designer. He's like, I've known him for ages, maybe like, I don't know, for the last 16, 18 years. And he was always, thinking a couple of years ahead. So whatever he makes, whatever he offers, I'm at first like, I don't understand it, and they're like, okay, I sort of like it, and then 2 or 3 years later, I'm seeing like the rest of the world doing the same thing, and like, wow, you're a genius. So he's really good. So he gathered this team of designers, and at some point we realized that that team professionally and quantitatively has outgrown the size of Petcube as a company and Petcube's
Mhm.
need for designers, because there's only that much work you need to design one sort of pet products. So we decided to spun it out, and we actually like did an independent valuation of that business. And Petcube's founders, three of Petcube founders, bought out what later become O0 Design. Basically, six designers and maybe a dozen of clients whom we took over while those designers were still part of Petcube. So we basically bought that out of Petcube, and spun it out as a separate business and hired a general manager. His name is Ilya Kropenikov. He's also Ukrainian, based in Barcelona. And then we basically developed that into a pretty successful agency with dozens of clients, and Microsoft and Facebook among its clients, and a bunch of really um, uh, talented startups, including probably 5 or 7 companies in aerospace. Like, for some reason, that has become sort of a big topic for us, and so on. So that has been doing pretty well, and I've been sort of playing a board director role there. So that's with O0. I know won like 6 Red Dot Awards, which is sort of the Oscars of
Wow.
design. It's
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then with Fuel, that has also been sort of connected to Petcube, because at some point I started looking for um, like financial expertise, to solve a number of tasks I had in financial department, which I could not have solved with um, the team I had on board. It's been like 5 or 6 years. I've been trying to solve those problems that would not be solved, and I got really sad about it. And I found this really young and energetic founder. Her name is Alona Miscon, and she's a Fuel CEO and now my business partner. So I found her and her team, and we just met for the first meeting, and I immediately understood that sort of her thinking about how the finance should function in a company is very close to mine, and sort of vision of finance and just data and information is this sort of nervous system for your business, that once you have the data and the information in, you should not spend countless hours just copying and pasting between different financial like tools and QuickBooks and spreadsheets. It should just work automatically and provide all the information you need as a manager to run your business. um, so we started working. The field first started as a contractor for Petcube, and then I offered Lana to be Phil's advisor and help them sort of up their game, and sort of enter the U.S. market, because it's just started as a sort of Ukraine-focused finance team. But I guess the power of their vision was that they were using a bunch of automations and sort of no code tools and Google spreadsheets and sort of robotic process automation to build like an ERP system, in sense, for enterprise resource planning system, and sort of this whole financial package for smaller companies like startups, maybe seed Series A startups, which previously would not be able to afford anything like that. And like the comparative solution, sort of feature wise, would be something like a full blown ERP system like NetSuite or something like that, which would cost you north of $50,000 for a year and would take maybe 6 to 12 months to set it up. While fuel only costs about 20 grand per year and takes maybe 6 weeks to set it up. So that was sort of an order of magnitude improvement, which I felt on Petcube. I saw how cool it is, and from my experience with Y Combinator and other startups, I knew that that is a huge pain for most of the founders because founders usually hate doing finance, and it's always like an afterthought. Yet, like maybe 38% of all the startups that fail because they run out of cash. So, in other words, because they're really bad with planning and predicting their finance and understanding it. So I think Fuel's mission to save companies from bankruptcies that should not have happened is really something that resonates with me. And if we're successful with that, hopefully that can be a measurable contribution both to nation's GDP with having fewer businesses fail, but also important contribution to just the well-being of founders because I cannot tell you how much horror and stress it is for a founder to look into the future and not be sure if you're going to make the payroll next month and if your business that you've been working on for the last 5 years is going to survive. So saving founders from those crises would be great. So that's it. Yeah.
Yep. So, like you said, all of your companies, you've learned different things from each one of them that apply to every other one. And they all have great goals, great visions, and you've learned from many different people new things
Totally,
about
totally.
entrepreneurism.
I think it's really helpful to have this stereoscopic vision of how different businesses, how different business models work. You definitely have this extra learning that you can then transfer to other businesses and other things in your life.
Yep. So, as we near the end of this discussion, I also wanted to go back to the Petcube side of things. Is there any Are there any memories of user experiences that you've enjoyed or experienced? Anything that comes to mind? Any specific stories?
Yeah, I actually have a very vivid memory, which I'm not sure if words can fully convey it, but it was one of the very early um, sort of user experiences that I have witnessed. We went to our friend's office in San Francisco to the company called Whistle. Ben and Steve, the founders, they made this smart dog collar that would track the dog activity and later GPS location. The company still exists. It was acquired by Mars. So we went to their office and they had something like bring your family to work day or something like that. So we're like kids there. And I don't think we even had started the sales yet, but we already had a first bunch of Petcubes installed in pet shelters. So you could just make a demo. You could just show the app. You would see the camera view from the shelter, and you could swipe your finger on the phone screen and move the laser and see the cat running after it. So we had that, and there was a kid, maybe age of 6 or 7 there, just someone's kid. So we gave it to him, and he immediately hit it off. He was like, "Oh, there's a cat." He's like, "Oh, look, he's following it." And he was like laughing with this childish laugh and like showing it to all of his parents and like all the grown-ups in the room. And he was just so full of joy and so happy that it just struck me so much how much this simple interaction with an animal can do to a person. And I actually have a small video clip of that very moment, luckily. So that has been one of these super vivid memories of one of the first user experiences with your product, and that's definitely forever with me.
Yeah. And Yeah, I do have three dogs, and I have to say that they're definitely a huge, like, some people think that, oh, they're just pets, just animals, right? I don't really understand those people because they're
Part of the
huge
family.
parts of our, they're part of the family.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So finally, looking forward to post-conflict Ukraine after the war. How do you envision the role of technology and innovation in rebuilding and revitalizing the economy, especially in like sectors like pet care and technology?
Yeah, well, if we look into history, like the wars, as unfortunate as it is, they've always been drivers for technological progress because then it's served a matter of survival. And what I'm seeing now is that in terms of drones, Ukraine has been quickly becoming one of the centers for testing the technology and developing it. And right now, hundreds of companies in Ukraine which make drones and different components and so on. And obviously, for example, in the US, if you want to fly a drone over certain limitations, you have to get so many permits and spend so much time and so on. And in Ukraine, there are different kinds of permits you have to get, but once you get them, you get to test them in all the ways. So I would really want to see something like the Drone Valley emerging here, and I think there are good chances of us seeing that happening. And for example, Eric Schmidt, famously Google's CEO for maybe 10 years or so, and a board member. He's been public about investing in Ukraine and the Ukrainian defense tech sector. And I actually had a chance to interact with him on that topic. And then there are a bunch of other really smart and talented entrepreneurs from the US who are investing in this field now. Like one of them would be Palmer Luckey, the founder of Anduril and previously the founder of Oculus, which he sold to Facebook. Um, so I think we'll see a lot of investments in this area of drones, in particular, in both military and civil uses, and hopefully we'll see, drone delivery services, which I'm personally very excited about. And I think if implemented in a wise way, that would be just a big benefit to the economy and just the convenience of life, just the same way as services like Uber or Lyft have become indispensable. Um, and then, agriculture and stuff like that. Ukraine has been always strong there, but with drones, I think we can take it on the next level. Defense technology for military uses for sure, and like radios and other stuff. Like just software and AI for drone navigation, or AI for target recognition, AI for map reading and orientation, and so on. That all will be developing. Mm, so I think there's lots to be optimistic about. There will be definitely challenges for us in terms of um, just overall reforms of some of the pieces of the country, which has been still left about from the Soviet era, and they have to be sort of fixed. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of sort of synergies between Ukraine and Silicon Valley
Mm, definitely.
overall.
Mhm. And yeah, like you said, that's going to be the focus in the next decade, next few decades after the war is over. I actually am helping a Ukrainian college student. She's going to university for business. I'm helping them learn English so she can
That's
get more
super cool.
opportunities, right?
Yeah. No,
And
thanks so much.
yeah, she's really interested in business and computer science, engineering, those type of technological advancements. So I think she wants to help with moving the country forward, like many of the new generation does.
Totally, totally. Progress is the way.
Yep.
But first, we got to win that war, right? So, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate all the support from the United States, our biggest ally, and all the U.S. taxpayers people who support Ukraine not only with their tax dollars but also with their citizen position and thoughts and ideas they share on social media and so on. So that has been really, really appreciated, and I think that people of Ukraine really feel close and much closer with people in the U.S. Even though most of them have never been to the U.S., I've been to the U.S., so I know much better sort of the situation in both parts of the world. But yeah, that has been the support has been invaluable and super helpful. And then obviously here on the ground, people are working day and night to make this happen and make world a safer place. I mean, because if this doesn't happen, if Ukraine loses some territory, what signal will that send to the world? That will basically send a signal that any country with nuclear arms can invade another country and there is no way against it. So that would mean more countries will get nukes and that will make the world a much more dangerous place. I'm sort of surprised that I'm not seeing more of this discussion within the sort of media space in the US. It seems like it's like the two parties have like two sides have their I shouldn't say two parties because it's pretty bipartisan support of Ukraine in the U.S., but there's still part of the Republican Party that's like seems like they're okay with like giving away some of Ukrainian territory, but in my view, it actually doesn't make America great again, not at all, and it actually endangers the citizen of the United States and also creates economic risks long term. So I think it would be better for the whole world for this war to end as fast as possible with Ukraine restoring its all territorial integrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a really important take. Thanks for saying that, because like I don't even think a lot of people who would be listening to this know about that. It's not really getting any media recognition, what you just said, how it's
Yeah,
going to affect different countries going forward.
totally. I mean, it's like one last fact that is not getting media attention is that in 1994, Ukraine had the third biggest nuclear arsenal in the world after the United States and Russia. And we agreed to destroy all the nukes that we had as a part of so-called Budapest Memorandum. And there was an agreement between Russia, the United States, the UK, I think France, and Ukraine, where Ukraine agreed to give up all of its nukes in exchange for security guarantees, or security assurances. There are two versions of the translation of the document from all these countries. So when Russia invaded, it violated the Budapest Memorandum, among a number of other agreements between Ukraine and Russia. But it also created sort of an obligation for the other signees of that memorandum to protect Ukraine. So what's going on now is also partially an execution of that Budapest Memorandum. But it is something that is not being mentioned often in the media. And I actually think that not all members of Congress have ever heard of Budapest Memorandum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It was great to have this sort of side conversation away from what I'd scheduled, because it's really important. Mm-hmm.
Sure. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm, yeah. To end us off, could you just give us your 5 key takeaways from the entire conversation, even this part as well?
Well, I mean, what's top of my mind is that for the world to be a safer place, Ukraine has to restore its territory. That's one. The second one is that, for me personally, being an entrepreneur has been the biggest pleasure, the biggest joy of my life. That's where I get more enjoyment than from anything else, than from going to the mountains or playing video games or anything. So I highly recommend you at least try it. Maybe entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I think everyone should at least try and make their small project and see how people enjoy using the product of your labor. And when you see that, this amazing feeling. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe five is too much, but I just think that just sort of enjoying what you do in your life is really important for your happiness and your health. So whatever you do, try to enjoy it, and if you don't enjoy it, maybe find something else to do that you would enjoy more.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for coming onto the show again. It was really
Totally.
great to have you talk about this. And thanks everybody for watching today's episode of the Exponential Edge podcast. And tune in next time to talk about things that will see exponential growth in the future of this country and the world as well.
All right. Thanks for doing this.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye.